Hey y'all, it's Lippy. You see, I'm out in the sugar shack. I've been working all day, but I was fixing to mix up a vapor rub for my daughter. She tested positive for COVID. I mean, there's no other word to say it. So I thought, you know what? Since I have been sharing these remedies that Buddy and I and the family utilize, how about if I share this rub? Now, there is a disclosure. This is not the recipe that I make for my grandchildren. I do not use rosemary. I do not use peppermint, and I do not use eucalyptus. And these are the main ingredients to this vapor rub that I am making for her. So you need to do your research. I do have a recipe. If you're interested, leave it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to share that recipe with you. But this is for 15 years of age and older, okay, for this vapor rub. But before we get started, who was it? It was one of you sweet ladies that I tried to pin it, and I'm not sure if I did. The other day, what was we doing? Well, we was doing the oregano, the infused oregano. Remember, we got to let it sit 6 to 8 weeks. And I suggested getting amber bottles because that's what I use once we get to the final stage. And she commented that a black sock, and I was like, brilliant. So hopefully none of you guys have ordered an amber bottle. If you have, great. But I went in the following day because I have this sitting in a very dark, cool spot. This is the oregano that we made, right? And I found an old pair of socks of Buddy's. It had just a taint hole in it. And I cut off the top. And I put it over this jar, and then I folded it over, okay? And there sits my oregano that's infusing. And I wanted to share this on another video, but today's the best day because I decided to turn the camera on. So get you a black sock. Put it over your jar. If you end up with no amber bottles, put it back into your jar, cover it with a sock, put it in a dark, cool spot. I could not believe how brilliant this is. So I thank you, darling, for this. Now let me set this down. We're going to get to the recipe of the day. Okay, everything's in the camera. Coffee is not in the recipe, guys. Just saying. All right, what you're going to need is a double boiler, which I do have those, but I prefer these pouring stainless steel pitchers. Now, if you don't have a double boiler, you can use a mason jar over some water. Just make sure that you put a towel down, a rag, set your mason jar in the pot that you're going to boil water in, and you have a double boiler, okay? But I never put glass in any pot unless I set a rag down. But I will actually be using a stainless steel pitcher. You're going to need a utensil to stir with, okay? And you're also going to need a thermometer. Guys, when you're making salves, oils, tinctures, it's science. And they all work off of a certain amount of heat. Your eyes or your hands cannot determine the heat. And this will be going on a stove. So I have my thermometer. We will be, and I have my marks here that I got to mark off so I can put my fresh ones on. We're going to bring this up to 100 degrees and remove it from the heat, okay? We're making a vapor rub. So there is our utensils. I'm going to be using organic coconut oil. Now, if you cannot use coconut oil, you can use olive oil. You can use avocado oil, sunflower oil, cold grapeseed oil. But make sure every oil is a cold press. If it doesn't say cold press, it's not going to activate correctly. So I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of organic coconut oil. Here is my half a cup. I'm gonna put it in my pitcher. We have our coconut oil in our pitcher. To this, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary. Now, you can use rosemary essential oils. I believe that would be 10 droplets. I'm using rosemary that I actually harvested from this past year and I dried, and that's 1 tablespoon. And now we're gonna go to the stove. The rest of the ingredients will come later. Well, I guess I can tell you what they are, huh? You're gonna need 2 tablespoons of all natural beeswax. Now the beeswax that I use is white. This is very purified and refined. This is the purest you can get. This is 2 tablespoons. We will be using, which one is this? The eucalyptus. We will be using the, I don't have my glasses on, the peppermint. And we'll also be using cinnamon leaf essential oils. And I also will be using mango butter. If you don't have mango butter, you can use African pure shea butter, okay? I just pulled this out. So if you don't have mango butter, you can use shea butter, but make sure it's the 100% pure African shea butter. I can't even talk today, guys. I moved y'all. Now we're over here at the stove top. Y'all want to see my stove top? I'm loving it. I don't have a real stove, but hey, this is working pretty good. Fixing to add my thermometer. But the ingredients that I showed you, as we go through it, I will give you the measurements as well as setting them down in the description. So I'm gonna move you down and I'm gonna show you what we're doing with just the rosemary and the coconut oil. This is a 2-hour wait when we bring it up to temp. Here's my little stove. I have a small burner and I have a large flat top burner. And guys, this thing has been amazing. Buddy bought it for me about a month or so ago. My double boiler sitting over here, but like I say, you can just use a pot or rag and set your mason jar down in it, okay? You got a double boiler. All right, so I'm just gonna get this coconut oil melted and I'm gonna get it to, it'd have helped if I'd have put the, there we go. We'll bring it up to 100 degrees. And then we're taking it off the heat. And we're walking away for 2 hours. Then we strain it, and then everything else, it's fast. I mean, 3 minutes and we're done. So that's all I'm gonna do. Bring it up to temp and let it just sit there. Get to know each other, be happy. And y'all, I may have to put the air on today. Between this, y'all see this plastic butcher apron? It gets hot. Oh, I got y'all up in the air. I'm at the desk now. I had to come out of that apron. I've got everything else closed up so I could come out the apron. But I wanted to go ahead real quick because I know you're probably asking right now while you're doing your rosemary, because I bet you y'all are, you're doing it with me. Why does it have to come up to 100 degrees, the oil? Now, like I said, you don't have to use the coconut. As long as you use a cold press quality oil, olive oil, avocado. Here we go. Lippy calls it jojoba. I know it's ho-ho, but whatever it is, y'all ain't gonna change me. It's jojoba, okay? Or like I said, you could do the cold pressed grapeseed. Any oil that you use, when you add a pure herb, not an essential oil, but when you add a pure herb, bringing that oil up to 100 degrees and removing it from the heat actually activates the natural oils that's in these herbs. Anything higher than 100 degrees will actually deplete the natural oils. No different if I was to take an essential oil, add it to that coconut oil, and it has exceeded 100 degrees. it's going to break down and you're not going to get the full benefits of that essential oil. So when it comes to making certain herbal remedies, we have to do our research. We have to know what temps work best. And they're not all the same, but they're very similar. So always make sure that you have a good quality thermometer. Test it out with other thermometers that you may have, just to make sure that it's reading accurate. But that is truly the reason why. It's because I'm trying to get as much natural oil out of this rosemary that I did dry myself, so I can get the full benefit, or should I say my daughter can get the full benefit of this chest rub that I'm making her, and she'll get it delivered with a couple of dozen of eggs. We've hit our 2-hour mark. I strained the rosemary out, and I'm on about a medium heat. In goes the 2 tablespoons of beeswax and the 1 tablespoon of mango butter. Now, I meant to say this earlier. If you do not have shea butter, if you don't have mango butter, it's not a necessity. This is to give it a creamier texture. But if you do not have either one, still make this rub, okay? You can add you a couple of drops of vitamin E. It'll give a good moisturizer. Now, all I'm doing is melting this. Okay, we got it melted and combined. We're going to let it sit 5 minutes. We're getting the temp off of it because it's hot right here. So we're going to give it about 5 minutes, and then we'll start adding our essential oils. But like I said, you do not have to have the mango or the shea butter to make a good rub. We're going to start with the eucalyptus oil. I'm going to add 20 drops. Peppermint oil, 20 drops. Cinnamon leaf essential oil. Now, I'm out of this brand, so I'm using the Now. Any brand that you're comfortable with, just make sure it's a good oil. We need 10 drops. We're going to give it a good stir. Now remember, we let it sit 5 minutes to cool down to where we can touch all around it without burning. Then you know it's time to add the oil. And this is where it's going to get noisy, but we want to thoroughly incorporate this oil. But I am literally going to stir this 1 minute. Okay, I stirred it for a minute, but I wanted to show you. You could add some vitamin E for your moisturizer, but I won't be adding this because I have the mango. And I'm just going to add it to my tin. This is a 4-ounce tin. And I should have some left over to put in this 1-ounce little jar. Perfect. See? So you get 5 ounces basically. And all I'm going to do is let this sit up. It's been sitting about an hour. Now I'm going to let it sit till in the morning. Okay, so it really sits up. But since this is for me, now it's all set up. I'm going to keep this one here. I want to show you how creamy. Can you see my fingerprint? Watch. It's amazing. So I'm going to let these sit. And there you have it. Vapor rub. And it's the oils that is used, and I can't describe it. You literally do not have that Vicks smell. But you do still have that menthol smell. So you really can't tell that you're missing it. But like I said, the eucalyptus, the peppermint, and the rosemary does have that menthol reaction when it comes to children, 15 and younger. And what we don't want to do is burn them. What we don't want to do is draw too much of that phlegm from their chest, bottom of their feet. And these 3 oils can do that on young children now. Young children. That's why I say I do have a recipe for them. If you've ever heard of frankincense, that's one of the ingredients. So, I'm going to go sit down, upload this video. Here you go. And that's a lot, guys, and that little amount that I used. But you see with that shea butter. Now, if I didn't have the shea butter, it would still be smooth, but it wouldn't be as creamy, if that makes sense, okay? You'll have to use the heat of your hand. But the vitamin E, if you have that, that will at least add a good moisturizer. So, as always, stay safe, stay well, and God bless. And I will see you on the next one.